Welcome, everybody. How many of you have already seen something about Power BI? How many of you use DAX, Power Pivot, Power Query, Power whatever? Not PowerPoint. Okay. The goal of today is to take a look at Power BI. There are a lot of demos about Power BI all around the web, some beautiful demos. My goal is not that of getting from you a wow effect. So I don't want you to say, wow, this is beautiful, which is the goal of most sessions about Power BI. My goal is more trying to help you understanding what is Power BI now, where it is probably going, and how you can make it fit in your line of business, in your company, or in your daily work. Power BI is a new idea of building BI, and is a new direction in the trend of business intelligence. So it's worth taking a look at it and understanding as soon as possible how it will evolve over time. A few words about who I am. I'm Alberto Ferrari. Together with Marco Russo, I work at SQLDay.com. We publish articles, we write books, we do a lot of stuff related to the business intelligence, Microsoft Business Intelligence. And that's it. I'm not here to tell you anything about myself. What is the idea of Power BI? The idea of Power BI is let users access their data, like Excel, but any kind of data. Data on the cloud, data on premises, data on software as a service, data on any kind of platform, and let them be able to show insights and show dashboards, get information, do business intelligence on any kind of device at any point in time and anywhere. Any device, anytime, anywhere basically means mobile BI. So being able to look at dashboard on your iPhone or understand what's happening in your business early morning when you wake up, you check Facebook and then you check if something is going wrong in your business intelligence. They tried to address different kind of users, not only BI professional, not only end users, but there is a full set of different users. There are business intelligence users, so people who do not understand anything about data, they just want to browse their data and get easily some dashboard. Then there are BI professionals, there are data analysts, and finally we have developers who are not interested at all in dashboards, but they are interested in integrating Power BI with the infrastructure in order to deliver data which might be on premises, on the iPhone, which might be somewhere else. And of course, you might imagine there are a lot of problems for security, for integration, for delivery of data, and for all this stuff, which is pretty normal in business intelligence. The idea is to make everything very simple. So the end user should be able to log into Power BI and in a few seconds be able to do something. Of course, that something will not be the most powerful dashboard on the planet, but at least he will be able to use Power BI. I said 5 seconds, 5 minutes, probably 5 minutes is a bit too much, but no more than, let's say, 30 seconds to begin. Most of this session will be made of demos, so I will show you what happens. I'm not going to show you a lot of slides with concepts, because I'm more interested in giving you the feeling of what happens with Power BI. So, let's reduce this and let's go. First thing that you need to do is go to powerbi.com. You simply go to powerbi.com and you have two options. Either you already have a Power BI account, in that case you do the sign in, or you enter your email like Alberto at SQLDay.pl, which doesn't exist. If you click use it free, you are simply redirected. By the way, sorry for that, but for some unknown reason, I have no idea, this computer have never seen Italian settings, yet Power BI is showing a lot of pages in Italian. So, likely you don't have to read, but this is, to start, this is my address and my email address and subscribe. If you click on subscribe, you receive an email, you confirm that you are owner of that email address, and you are up and running, so you can immediately connect with Power BI. You don't need to pay, you don't need to do anything. Power BI comes free. There are some limitations in the free edition, but really not limitation that any normal user would really consider a limitation. If on the other hand you already have an account, you click on sign in. I connect as real-time demo at SQLDay.com, and I simply click on next. And this is what happens. Of course, you don't see this page the first time you connect, you see a demo page. But this is the Power BI website. At the beginning, it's totally empty. You only have data sets. This is dashboard reports, which luckily have not been translated, and these are data sets. So the idea of Power BI is showing you immediately a final result. But I'm not going to use the final result. Let's follow what a normal user, a user with no knowledge about BI, would probably do. He starts connecting to a data set. Again in Italian, but this says Excel workbook. When it's time to change the battery,
Thank you.
When it's time, to change the battery, these are the rights of a geek. Wi-Fi and batteries. That's all what we really need. You have a lot of connectors to dataset. You can connect an Excel workbook, a Power BI file, we will see that, a database on Azure, a database on analysis services, and then there is software as a service like GitHub, Google Analytics, Marketo, Salesforce, SendGrid. This set of connector is growing very constantly at an incredible speed, so they are adding a lot of connectors. But we are just users. I have an Excel workbook on my PC, and I want to push it to Power BI to see what happens and if I can get some information. Before going there, let's take a look at this workbook. This workbook doesn't contain any Power Pivot data model. It doesn't contain any structure. It only has a table. The table contains information about the usage of the DAX Formatter website. DAX Formatter is a website that Marco built to format DAX queries. And every time a query is formatted, we add 1 to the counter just to understand how many people are using it. So we have the date, the number of requests, and the average duration of the formatting of the query. And everything is just put in an Excel table. The table needs to be an Excel table, not a range. So you need at least to format it as a table, so it's a table, and Power BI is able to understand what's in it. But there is no data model, there is no table, no relationship, nothing at all. So we go back to Power BI and we say, well, I want to open DAX Formatter usage and connect to it. Now it's uploading the file on Power BI. By the way, if you are using the Wi-Fi, please stop doing it, because we have a shared Wi-Fi and I will need it during the demo. Okay, it loaded the DAX Formatter usage dataset, and now the file is there. It was on my PC, now it's in Power BI. And you see here we have DAX Formatter usage, many copies because I did this demo many times, but this is the last one. Now you can click on the data set and you get a beautiful white page that contains it's the canvas, the Power View canvas on which you can build your report. If the Wi-Fi helps me, okay, you get the white canvas and the set of columns. Average duration, you can click on average duration and this will return the average duration, and then you can slice, for example, by month. And are you familiar with Power View? Some yes, some no. This is basically Power View running in Power BI. The idea of Power View is one click to do anything. It needs to be easy, it needs to be simple, you need to be able to build reports in a very simple way. It's not as powerful as Excel, but it's incredibly simple to use. And I want to show you that I am able now to track the average duration over time in an easy way. But before saying anything else, I want to highlight you a small thing, which is in the workbook we had only 3 columns, which are the date, the number of requests, and the duration. There is no month, there is no year, there is nothing at all, there is no structure in this data model. When Power BI loaded the workbook, it understood, I don't know exactly how it understood, but it understood that there was a lacking of structure in the model. So it found a date column in this table. It didn't find any date dimension, any table that had a relationship that might be useful to slice by month or slice by year. And so it automatically added the month column and the year column to my model. I didn't have to do it. I didn't have to structure the model. As of now, it works only for dates. But you can imagine that over time, it might be clever and more clever in order to load your data and understand what is happening. Hopefully, it will never be too clever so that it loads my model and completely changes because it thinks that it's done in the wrong way. Now, I have my average duration per month here, and I can do another report by clicking on request. This is the number of requests, and I can slice that by year. So now I have 2 reports in my page. One contains the request by year, the other one the average duration by month. For the ones of you who has never seen Power View, one of the beautiful features of Power View is that you can click on any part of your chart. For example, I click on 2014, and you see that all the other reports in the same page fill the filter and show you the value for 2014 and the total value, so you are able to compare the contribution of 2014 to the numbers that you are looking at. And of course it works the other side too. So if I click on May, I see that I have data for 2014, nothing in 2015 and nothing in 2013. Now I have a couple of reports. How can I modify their content? Well, changing the shape of a report is indeed very easy. You simply click on this button, and this shows all the reports, all the kind of charts that you can use in Power BI. For example, you might change it to a bar chart, and instead of being vertical, it becomes horizontal. And there are, of course, many. We will see some of them, not all of them. You can change it to show the contribution of different years, or you can change it to a line. Likely this is 2014, 2015, 2013. We probably need to sort the data in a different way. But apart from that, you see that changing the chart is very easy. Now I have my report. What I can do is click on this button, which is Pin to Dashboard. That will delete the report. But if I'm happy with this chart, I can pin it to the dashboard. I need to save it before and call this report SQLDay. Okay. If I now go back to my dashboard, let me create a new dashboard. Let's call it SQLDay. Okay. I add it twice. Now I have my average duration report in the SQLDay dashboard. And the next time I will connect to Power BI, I will simply go there and I will see the SQLDay dashboard. One thing which is active by default, and it's pretty nice to see, is Q&A. You see that here there is a text box, And in the text box, I can ask questions in English, like show total requests. And of course, it doesn't work. So let's do it here. Show total requests. I love that.
Maybe no Italian.
No, Italian is not supported, only English. I can start writing dirty words in Italian. Show requests. No way, and here, let's do it again. Down save, go to DAX formatter. Show total requests. Okay, now it works. Don't ask me why. Okay, here you can write any kind of question, not any kind of question, like show total requests, and tell me that there are 21,000 total requests in my workbook. But I might want to slice them by year, and after some time, it's typically much faster than this. It shows the total request by year. You can also show the average total request or total duration by year, and after a while it should show you the total. Show average duration by month. Okay, that is slightly better. And this shows the average duration by dividing it by month. Power BI, in my personal opinion here, is a bit too clever, meaning that it reads what you are writing. Right now, only English is supported, and for any non-English speaker, of course, this might be a problem, because you need first to think on how to phrase the query, and then you get the query. But the idea is that you don't need to interact with the pivot table, you don't need to do anything, you simply type what you want, and Power BI decides two things. First, what numbers you are interested into, and then the second part is how to show them. When I asked show average duration by month, it decided that a bar chart was the best option. While if I only ask something like show average duration without dividing it by month, it decided not to answer that a chart divided by data is the best visualization. You don't have any option today of changing it. If you want to build your chart without interacting with Q&A, then you need to do it by yourself, which is not a big issue. Once the chart is ready, you can pin that to the dashboard too, and if we are lucky, which we are not, the chart, oh no, it added to the DAX formatted dashboard. I was working there. So now I have my dashboard there. This is basically Power BI. So Power BI, the idea of Power BI is push data to the cloud, to the Power BI website, then start building reports, pin the reports to the dashboard, and then start looking at them. Now, before we move on with further stuff, it is useful to define at least what are the objects in Power BI, how they interact, and how the whole architecture works. Because as I told you, I don't want to show you great demos. I'm more interested in showing you the architecture and what it is intended to do. The idea of Power BI is that for simple models, it enhances them by itself. So you don't need to be an expert of data modeling. Some stuff is done automatically by it. The reporting is incredibly quick. You don't need to do anything. You simply upload a workbook on Power BI, and then it's there. Q&A is enabled by default. So once a report is loaded in Power BI, you can use Q&A immediately. And there are different features. What we have seen so far are what you can do as a business user. So business user is somebody who doesn't know data modeling, he's just interested in numbers. But then there are features, and we will see them for BI analysts, IT professionals, and ISP and system integration developers. We have already seen all that. Import data model and create them. You can create many reports. We created one, but based on the same data source, you can create as many reports as you want and as many pages inside the report as you want, and then you pin everything to the dashboard. What are the objects that work when you upload something on Power BI? You have data sets. The data sets, in my case, was an Excel workbook. You can have, of course, different data sets loaded in Power BI. One thing you need to be aware of is that data sets do not interact between themselves. So you cannot, just using Power BI, take some data from a data set, some other data from a different data set, and build a query that merges them. If you want to do that, you need to go to the Power BI designer and work in a slightly harder way. Data comes from any database to the data set. Based on the data set, you build reports. And you see that you cannot build a report that load data from here and from there. Each report is based on a single data set. So if you have two workbooks, one containing some data and one other containing other data, you cannot merge them. You can load them in Power BI, but there is no way to run a query that grabs data from both. Then, based on reports, you can build dashboards. Dashboards, on the other hand, can grab data from any report, no matter what dataset it is using. So you can build a dashboard containing some data from a dataset, some other data from other datasets. The limitation is here. So the limitation is that dataset cannot be combined. If you are a user, if you are a BI professional, then you use Power BI Designer, which is much more convenient to do integration of data. SQLDay works on the dashboard. So, what's happening? Well, we don't know. It's just flickering. SQLDay works on the dashboard, and because a dashboard can contain data coming from different datasets, SQLDay is enabled to query multiple datasets. Make sense? Move your head. Whenever I ask make sense, I expect you to do this or this. So let's try it again. Make sense? Love it. The dataset is a connection to one or more data sources. In the Power BI website, you can connect a dataset to only one data source. If you want to connect a dataset to more data sources, then you need to use the Power BI Designer. The data model, so tables, relationships, calculations, and whatever you can put in a data model is in the datasets. And it is imported if you use Power BI Designer or a Power Pivot data model, or create it automatically. We will see that with the demo in a few minutes. Reports are connected to the data source. A data source can have multiple connections, and the report uses all the tables and relationships that are stored in that datasets. And then, if you load data from, not from a simple Excel file as we did, but from a more structured Excel file, then all what you do in Excel is published then in Power BI. Dashboard connect one or many reports and datasets. SQLDay is basically an engine that tries to answer to your specific question. You can build tiles in the dashboard. I didn't tell you what a tile is, but a tile is basically this. This is a tile, this is a tile, this is a tile, and this is another tile. So tiles are charts that you take from a report and pin inside the dashboard. A tile can be created using SQLDay or using an element of the report, whatever element you have created. One important limitation, at least for today, is that if you start building tiles with SQLDay, those tiles cannot be edited later. So you cannot write a query using text form, and then once it has more or less the shape you want, modify that manually. That is not supported. If a tile is created using SQLDay, it will always be editable only with SQLDay. Of course, You can resize style, you can do all normal stuff that you can imagine. And the goal of Power BI today, which is today is in public preview Power BI, it's not yet available as a real service, is end users first. So the idea is let end users use Power BI and try to move all the complex stuff to BI Professional and ISV, but in a way that completely hides complexity to end users. It's in some sense a modification of the idea of self-service BI. Self-service BI started with Power Pivot and we tried to educate users, to teach Excel users how to build a proper data model, to try to teach Excel users what a many-to-many relationship is, and what probably is happening is that we will not be able to teach all Excel users about data modeling. So we give them what they want, the ability to do reports, and then we do the model in a way that is simple for them to use. Now, what we have published up to this point is just an Excel workbook. But you are not limited to publish an Excel workbook containing only a table. Imagine that instead of having an Excel workbook containing a table, we have a more complex Excel workbook. This is again an Excel workbook, but this time it contains a Power Pivot data model. So it has tables, it has relationships, measures, calculations, a lot of stuff inside it. And of course, this is no longer what a normal user do. A normal user doesn't create a Power Pivot data model, but it can ask for help to somebody, either IT or one of his friends, to build a model containing currency, customer, date, product, or the tables. These tables have a relationship among them. So you see that we built a complete data model with a relationship, and we are able to build a pivot table on top of it. So I can see different countries, the amount of sales divided, for example, by the customer, education or occupation, what it is. What happens if I take this workbook and push it to Power Pivot, to Power BI? The easiest thing to do is to try it. So you can go to select this, then click on Dataset, and we connect a new Excel workbook. This time it's Contoso in Excel. We connect to it, and we need to wait, of course, that it uploads everything. While we wait for it to upload everything, it is time to introduce, because I think it's going to take a while, to introduce the fact that, of course, the data, the source of data is on this PC. Then I copy it on the cloud, but I cannot expect it to be refreshable on the cloud. So I cannot expect Power BI to connect to my PC while I'm traveling somewhere to grab the new version of the Excel file. So there are connectors that can be refreshed and connectors that cannot be refreshed. What we are using so far are connectors that cannot be refreshed. But then there are a lot of connectors that can be refreshed. For example, if I put this workbook, so I upload this workbook not from my local computer, but from a OneDrive folder, then since the workbook is on OneDrive for Business as of today, since the workbook is on OneDrive, Power BI has a way to refresh data even when my PC is not available for any connection, because data is already on the cloud. So if your data is on OneDrive or on Dropbox is supported too, and probably many other services will be supported, you will be able to refresh data even in a completely disconnected way. For example, as of today, all my files are on Dropbox. I don't have my PC is actually a cache of all my data which is on the cloud. So for me it's not a problem because all my data is already on the cloud and everything can be refreshed easily. You see that I should have Contoso somewhere here. Oh, here it is. I'm sorry, but today nothing seems to work. Oh, here it is. Now I have my Contoso Excel. You see that the model now is more complex. I have tables, I have relationships, and I can create reports pretty easily. I can click on the country, for example, and you know that country has been detected as a geographical entity, and so what is shown immediately is the map. Then I don't want the sum of yearly income. I might want, for example, from the sales table, the sum of sales amount. And this shows on a map the sum of sales amount. This is very similar to what already happens with Power View, but the difference is that now data is on the cloud. When you upload a workbook that contains a Power Pivot data model, the full Power Pivot data model is uploaded to Power BI, and because it's a Power Pivot data model, in the Power Pivot data model you can merge different data sets, different queries, different whatever you want, and create models which are much more complex. So the idea is that you move from uploading a simple table to uploading a model that already contains some logic inside it. The good thing about all this is that if you want, for example, to create a measure, to compute distinct counts, to compute complex aggregations, or any complex expression that you might want to do with DAX, then you do that in Power Pivot, then upload it to Power BI to gain the availability of looking at this data and sharing it with somebody else. One thing that I forgot to mention is, let's call it report test, so I remember that I will delete it. Imagine that now that I have my SQLDay report, I click there, then I go to report test and I pin this to dashboard. Okay. You will quickly learn that it is nearly impossible to understand to which dashboard the report has been pinned, and in fact I don't find it, but theoretically if I click on SQLDay, then I go to my Contoso report, I'm starting to get crazy because I have report test. Last dashboard that I clicked is SQLDay, so I click here, I pin it to the dashboard. It doesn't ask you to which dashboard you should connect, but it should be the last one that you visit. Well, in reality it is not. Anyway, you say it's on the other side? Might be. Oh, that's just the screen, which is a bit too small. Okay. Let's resize it a bit. Okay. Now I have created this beautiful dashboard, and imagine that I want to share with somebody else. Because all this stuff about putting data on the cloud is not just because I will be able to see it on my PC, but because I might want to share it with somebody else. And this is not complex to do. All you need to do is go to the dashboard and click there, which is share the dashboard. In Italian it's condividi il dashboard. All what you need to know is the email address of the guy with which you want to share the dashboard. This cannot be any address. Since this tenant is on SQLBI.com, I can share it with marco@sqlbi.com and it will work. But if I try to share with somebody else which is not part of the same tenant, of course it will not work. But beside of that, if I click on OK right now, what the Power BI will do is send an email to that email address with a link. The guy needs only to click on the link, and that dashboard will be added to the set of Power BI dashboard of that user too. I have some dashboard that I shared. Don't know whether they are here, but this is a dashboard that has been shared, and this is again another dashboard that has been shared. So sharing the full content of your report is pretty easy. And of course, if you modify the original dashboard because it's shared, it's the same dashboard for everybody. You also have the option when you share a dashboard to decide whether, again, it's in Italian, but this small string, which is not hidden, tells whether you want the recipient of the email to be able to share the dashboard with somebody else. So you might send it to him and say, I send it to you, but don't show it to anybody else, or I send it to you, and if you want, you can share with somebody else. So my dashboard spreads, and the whole company starts looking at the numbers I created. Simple Excel file generates a simple dashboard, a simple model. A more powerful Excel file containing Power Pivot data can generate more complex data structures. There is still another way, there are many other ways, but there is still another important way of building Power Pivot data, Power BI data model, which is go to the download area. Here there is the set of tools that you can download from Power BI. There's Power BI for iOS that runs on the iPhone, on the iPad, where you can consume data, but you cannot create. Yet you are able to consume data, so you use your iPad, you connect to Power BI, and you have the same experience you are seeing here on the web. You can download the Power BI Designer or the Analysis Services connector. If you click on Power BI Designer Preview, you download something like 70 megabytes, and then you have the Power BI Designer Preview in Power BI Designer on your PC. What is Power BI Designer? Power BI Designer is a standard application, so it's just a Windows application that contains the engine of Power BI. Where is the... Oh, here it is. From here, you can do the same operation that you can do from the web, but it's local, so it's much easier to use, and it's more powerful because it's a complete application, so I have all the features available. So I can, for example, get data from Excel, from SQL Server, from CSV. I can connect, for example, to my local SQL Server. Okay, I trust my database. Then I connect to Contoso, for example, and I load DIM account and DIM data. I'm not going to do the full loading with this, but you see that now I'm loading data from the database, and I'm able to look at the queries. If you are familiar with Power Query, this is Power Query embedded inside the Power BI Designer. Power BI Designer is basically Power Query, Power View, Power Pivot together in a single application which lives outside of Excel. So you don't need Excel to use all this stuff. It's completely detached from Excel.
And it's free.
Sorry?
It's free of charge.
And it's free. It's totally free, and for the ones of you who are more interested in that, Power BI Designer currently has the latest version of the Power Pivot data model, of the engine, of everything. So if you want to play with the latest bits of the tabular model, Power BI Designer is the way to go. So you can load tables, you can create relationships. Now, instead of using, since I don't have time to build the model, I show you the Contoso data model built with Power BI. The Contoso data model loads some queries from Contoso. I have currency, customer date, product category, and so on. So I have several tables. You have the full power of Power Query. So, for example, I can take between product and product category, there is a relationship, but I might want to remove a product category. Remember that I'm no longer a user, I'm more a BI professional, so I'm not scared about relationships, I'm not scared about normalization and denormalization. And so you have full power of shaping and massaging your data. So from the product table, I can merge the product table with the product subcategory and link them based on the product subcategory key. And then expand from here the subcategory and the product category. So I took a column from product subcategory and bring it into the query, which is now product with category. Finally, I can go further and say, well, now you can take this table, merge it with product category based on the category key here, click on OK, and then you expand the only column which we want to get, which is the category name. Now we have category, subcategory. We can delete this column which is no longer useful, and we can delete the product subcategory key which appears somewhere. So you see that what you can do is much more than simply loading a table. You don't need to know SQL, you need to learn Power Query. Power Query is a great tool, and it's definitely worth spending time there because it lets you do amazing things in a pretty simple way. It has the full power of SQL plus something more, and it is very visual. And you can shape or massage your data here, and you can build reports. The user interface, the UI, is very similar to that of the web user interface, but it's an application, so don't know whether you like to work on the web. I hate it. I strongly prefer to work with an application on my PC where the power is much more. And from here you can build reports in the very same way as we did before. So for example, you can start with the year and then divide it by, from the sales, take the sum of unit cost, remove the sum of date key which was there, and now I'm looking at the cost divided by calendar year. And the user interface and the feature you have available are the very same. Filtering just works. And you can change from here one of the many visualizations which are available. For example, you can look at what is more important, look at it as a pie chart, or look at it as a column chart or as a bar chart, or one of the many visualizations. I'm not going to show you them all. If you want to take a look, you go there and look at them. From here you have, as I told you, much more power, because you have the option of, for example, adding new measures. With Power Pivot, you can add calculated columns, you can add the measures, you can do all the stuff about DAX. This is slightly reaching the same level, but it is working on the new model. So, for example, you can create a new measure. We need to do that on the customer. I can create a new measure, like number of customers, which is a distinct count of customer. Let's put the customer name, for example. This will compute the distinct count of customer name, and I can slice customer name by year. If only I find it. Okay. Now you see that if I slice the distinct count of customers by year, the result is not really sexy. That's one of the limitations of Power Pivot and in general the tabular data model. Many-to-many relationships do not work out of the box in the tabular model. But I told you this is not the standard tabular model, this is the new tabular model. So in the modeling, in the home and then manage, you can modify the relationship, and in the relationship between customer and sales. You can edit the relationship. You see that the user interface is completely different from what happened in Power Pivot. And it says that sales customer key is linked to customer key, but in the advanced option, I have cardinality, which can be many to one, one to one, one to many, and most important, the cross-filter direction. It can be single or it can be both. If it is both, it means that the filter works both ways, and because it works both ways, many to many will start working immediately. You click on OK, then you click on Close.
100% is always.
Oh yeah, that is a stupid problem. OK. And now the numbers. Trust me, before it was the same for all the rows, but I didn't notice it was a percentage. Now, many to many are working out of the box. So it is worth downloading, installing, and start to play with Power BI, even if you are a BI professional and you are interested in the latest version, the latest bits of the tabular model. Because all the functions, all the new code, all the new features of tabular will probably appear before in Power BI and only later on on-premises databases and on SQL Server analysis services. This is what I normally do. If I want to study something, I connect to Power BI and then I build my measures and do my test code directly here. Of course, from Power BI in the dataset, you have an Excel workbook and you have a Power BI Designer file. If you click on Connect and then choose the contours of Power BI, what will happen is that the Power BI Designer model will be uploaded to Power BI and I will have the very same experience that I had a few minutes before. The difference is that instead of being an Excel file, it will be a Power BI file. So which one to use? That really depends. If your data is natively in Excel and if you are happy with the current model, then Excel has Power Pivot, which has an easier to use user interface. But if you need many-to-many, if you need complex structures, then of course you need to use the Power BI Designer file. Keep in mind that Power BI is being updated every month. So every month there is a new version of Power BI Designer, which also always has some new and interesting features. So right now I am switching from using Excel as a prototyping tool to Power BI Designer as a prototyping tool because it's easier to use and in reality it has more power. So I don't have much time. We have seen that simple things can be done using the Power BI website and just an Excel file. Slightly more complex data models require Excel Power Pivot or the Power BI Designer database. When it comes to data refresh, if you worry about data refresh, it means you are probably not a user, you are a BI professional, or you are more in the ISV developer stuff. There are some connectors that already work, some other still need some work. You can have direct connections. Direct connection means that you can connect. I haven't shown you. Okay. You can download the Analysis Services Connector. The Analysis Services Connector is a software that needs to run inside your farm, so on premises on your PC, not on your PC, on your server probably. And then once you download and install the Analysis Services Connector, Power BI has the option from the cloud to connect with the Analysis Services Connector and directly query the Analysis Services Connector. Why is this important? Because this is a different paradigm. Typically, in Power BI, you upload data in Power BI, it's cached there, and then you see data which is on the cloud. If you use one of the connectors, the one for tabular is already there and working. The one for multidimensional will probably come, don't know exactly why, but they are working on it. In that case, the connection is made directly from the cloud to your on-premises data, and data is no longer cached. So you don't need to push your data on the cloud. The data stays on premises, and when needed, the query from Power BI will reach your server and get the latest set of information. And this is important because it basically means that if you have an analysis services tabular model on premises and you want to give your user access to that data model anywhere on the planet, on their iPhone, on their iPad, or on their PC when it is connected to the internet, all you need to do is install the analysis services connector, set up the Power BI service, and that is all. You don't need to do anything else. Of course, installing the connector requires a bit of IT skills, because you need to worry about security, you need to worry about how data moves from here to there. But the important thing is that you don't need to have data on Azure. The data stays on premises, and it is just your local farm. So for direct connection, tabular and multidimensional later, data refresh is not needed because it's always the latest data. The query goes to your machine. You can run schedule refresh. If you use Power Query connections to SQL Azure, Salesforce, Azure Services, or other data sources for Power Query, then you can set up schedule refresh. For the free version, schedule refresh cannot be set up more than once a day. For the paid version, which is something like $10 a month, so it's not a real paid version, it's very, very cheap, you can refresh once an hour. So the data can be refreshed once an hour, and if your data is already on the cloud, refresh just works. Because Power BI is on the cloud, your data is on the cloud, Power Query is in the middle, it grabs new data, refresh it, and next time I connect with Power BI, I will have my data there. Power Pivot native connections are not supported yet, so if you want to be able to refresh your data, you need to use Power Query to load data. If you use Power Pivot, load data from Power Pivot, and then expect it to work in a refresh, it will not work. Power Query is probably the tool to load data in BI. There is another service, which I haven't shown you yet, which is other connectors like Salesforce, SendGrid, GitHub, Marketo. There are many, many software as a service services which are all here. If, for example, you want to connect to Google Analytics, all you need to provide, if the Wi-Fi helps me, are the credentials to connect this software as a service. And what you get as a result is a complete data set and a complete dashboard already created that load data from, in this case, Google Analytics, and show you a web page containing everything. For example, we use Google Analytics to do analysis of the DAX Formatter website, and to build this report, we didn't have to do really anything. We provided our credential and the website we wanted to monitor to Google Analytics, and you get all the information about the website you are looking at. Last thing, I only have a few minutes, which are not enough to show you everything, but last thing that I want to show you, because it fits in the architecture view of everything, is that you can upload data to the cloud, use a connector and load data from the connector which is on premises, use software as a services. There is still another way of moving data to Power BI, which is that of using the REST API and push data in an active way to Power BI. This opens the ability of doing real-time dashboards, because Power BI no longer asks for data, but it stays there and it receives data while it is being generated. Here I have my DAX Formatter website, and you see that the DAX Formatter shows how many requests happened today, how many query has been formatted today. This report is connected with the service on daxformatter.com. So if you go to daxformatter.com, you can write here DAX formatter basically takes a query like equal some x over sales of sales amount, and then when you click format, the query is formatted. This query, of course, it is very simple. But if I click format, DAX formatter has formatted the query, and you see that from 166 it became 167. Why that? Because this website formatted the query, then using the API to Power BI, sent the new information to Power BI, telling it that something has changed in the data. And Power BI immediately refreshes the information. Of course, the same happens on iPhone, iPad, whatever kind of application you might have. There is, for example, the application for Windows. This is an application you can already download. So you simply go to the App Store and download the application for Windows, which has the very same features. All these applications are not intended to be used. This is the SQLDay website. Again, this is something coming from Google Analytics. The beauty of all this stuff is that in order to make it work, you don't need to be a master of integration. So I have no idea how Google Analytics works, but what I know is that I connected Google Analytics to my website, and then I create my Power Pivot data model, my Power BI data model, and every night it refreshes. So when I'm curious about what's happening at the site, I simply click on the dashboard and the data is there. When I'm curious, which I'm not really curious about what is happening to the DAX formatter usage, average duration request, the average duration from where people are formatting my queries, and here I see that people use DAX formatter mainly from North America, somebody from Europe, somebody from here. That's not very useful to me, but of course I'm a geek. I'm not interested in real data. I'm more interested in how to show data. Users, of course, love it because of its incredible simplicity. Okay, we spoke about sharing. Of course, I'm out of time. We already spoke about sharing. I've shown you the real-time dashboard. You can use the API to enumerate the database, get metadata about the database which are there, push data on your data model which is in Power BI, or destroy a data model if you want to send it more fresh data. Right now it is not possible, but you can imagine that the technology already supports it. It's just a matter of making it work. You can create a full data model, put it on the cloud, then create partitions that can be updated dynamically, so you can have a complex data model with a lot of data pre-computed, and then the latest number are constantly pushed to your Power BI model. So you can create something which is real-time, not only real-time, but also real-time on the web, available for everybody. The Power BI application are basically the Power BI site, Power BI Designer, Windows application, the mobile application which exists for the Windows Phone, Apple iPhone. Don't know where it runs on Android, but it will, because it's growing and there are no limitations on that. The data management gateway and the analysis services connector. Today Tabular is already there working. Multidimensional will come, but it's pretty sure it will come early. So I hope to have given you an idea of what Power BI is and how you can use it in your company. It's not yet perfect today, but it clearly shows the trend and where Microsoft is going. Rich visualization, easy to use, and with different levels of usage depending on who you are. So very simple for basic users and pretty advanced for really interested users. Of course, a normal user doesn't do real-time dashboards. He's interested in looking at them, but doesn't have no idea how to configure everything. You need to write some code to do it. But we managed to write the code and put it in DAX formatter, so it's not hard at all, because I'm not a developer. So it's something that it's pretty easy. And the idea is to move to hybrid BI solution. Not everything on the cloud, something on the cloud, something on premises, mix them together and build dashboard for the end users. That was the last slide, only 3 minutes late, which is great to me. Remember about the sponsor. Go there, visit them, and take a look at their products because they are important. If there are any questions, I guess we don't have time for questions here, so if you have any question, let's meet out, because otherwise the other speaker will kill me if I steal time from him. Thank you very much for attending. Hope you liked it.